Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're making quick vegetable soup. So what you'll need here is a 14-ounce can of chicken broth. So I'm using the leftovers of a larger 32-ounce carton of chicken broth. You'll also need an 11.5-ounce can of vegetable juice cocktail. So I have two 5.5-ounce cans, which makes about that much. You'll need a cup of water. You'll need one large potato, which my husband is on the way home with because I forgot to get it at the grocery store this morning. You'll need 2 large carrots. You'll need 2 stalks of celery. You'll need a 14.5-ounce can of diced tomatoes and a cup of fresh corn kernels, but I decided to get the canned because I didn't feel like fiddling with an ear of corn. And then you'll also need a cup of chopped fresh green beans. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and wash all of my vegetables and chop them up. The recipe that I'm using, which I will link in the description box, does not include an onion, but I'm going to add an onion in. This is the kind of recipe that's pretty much basic and you can add anything you want. If you wanted to add some kind of meat into it, you could. If you wanted to add other types of vegetables into it, you surely could. I'm gonna pretty much stick to the recipe plus add an onion. So I'm gonna rinse these things off and get to chopping. All right, so the first thing I'm doing here is I am peeling my carrots. Now this recipe only calls for 2 carrots, but I'm actually gonna put in kind of like 2.5. This one is kind of half a carrot, but I really like carrots in soup. So I'm doing a little more than the recipe says, which is what I love about this particular recipe. You can totally adjust it to your taste. You can add more vegetables, you can use less, you can leave out anything you don't like. And it calls for chicken broth, but obviously you could use vegetable broth and it would be a completely vegetarian recipe, which I think is great. So now that I've gotten my carrots peeled, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm actually gonna peel my celery. This is something that my grandmother always does. She just does like a light peeling on the outside of her celery, and she says it helps so that when you get chunks of celery in your soup, it makes it so that it's not as stringy. And she makes the best soup, so I trust her. So I don't peel a whole lot off, but just a few little layers like that. And then I'll do this one as well. Okay, so that's that. So this is gonna be, this white bowl here is gonna be the bowl I'm gonna use to put all the ingredients that are about to go into my pot. So I'm just gonna go ahead and chop this up and then chop my onion up, and then I will be back. All right, so I have my onion, my carrots, and my celery all chopped up. So I'm gonna get those going in the pot. And then while those are starting to cook and get tender, I'm going to go ahead and cut up my green beans and my potato. Okay, so I have a little bit of butter and a little bit of olive oil simmering in the bottom of our soup pot, I should say. And I'm gonna go ahead and add this mixture of our onion, our celery, and our carrots. I have 3 carrots in there. You get 10 points if you know what this is called. And I'm gonna let these get a little tender. I'm gonna go ahead and give them a sprinkle of salt and pepper. And then while these are kind of tenderizing a little bit over here and cooking just a little bit over here, I'm gonna go ahead and cut up our green beans and our potato. Okay, I have the carrots, the onion, and the celery on the stove, and so I'm gonna go ahead and peel and dice my potato, and I'm also gonna go ahead and cut up my green beans. All right, now I've peeled and chopped up my potato. You do not have to peel your potato, but I like mine peeled for the soup. And I also have cut off the ends of the green beans and cut them into bite-sized pieces. So I'm gonna go over to the stove and get this going with everything else and add all of our liquid ingredients and canned ingredients. All right, now that this is completely tender and delicious, I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest of my ingredients. So I'm gonna start off by adding a cup of corn. I used canned corn and I drained it, but you could use fresh corn. I'm gonna add my potatoes in and my green beans. And I'm going to give those a little sprinkle of salt and pepper as well. You could totally add other seasonings to this. I think the recipe recommends using like Creole seasoning, but we're just starting with this. Then I'm gonna put my can of diced tomatoes into the soup. I'm gonna leave the juice and I'm not going to drain it. So now I have all the vegetables in that I'm gonna add to my soup, but like I said, you can totally add more if you want. So I'm gonna add my 14 ounces of chicken broth. Again, you can totally use vegetable broth if you prefer it. My 1 cup of water. And then I'm adding 2 cans of the V8 because they're each only 5.5 ounces, but you really only need one 11.5 ounce can if you have access to that. I ordered that today on my groceries and they didn't have it, so they gave me these instead, which are completely fine. So I'm gonna bring this up to temperature and get it simmering. And I'm gonna go ahead and have it simmer for 30 minutes until all of the vegetables are tender, and then it will be ready. All right, our vegetable soup has been simmering here for about 30 or 35 minutes. We did the first about 25 or 30 minutes with the pot covered, and then we turned up the heat a little bit and uncovered it. And so we're gonna go ahead and dish up a bowl. You can see that all of the vegetables are delicious and tender. And there's all kinds of, you can go ahead and just get some broth. That's what I usually do because I like a lot of broth in my soup. We are serving ours with some fresh bread from the grocery store, but there you have it, easy, quick vegetable soup.